Hi, welcome to Insight Interviews. I'm Alexandra Burkhart, and I will be talking to Octavio Liriano today. Octavio and his wife started a school called Imaginal Early Childhood a couple years ago, and it is a play based educational program for children. I found this topic to be so interesting. I hope that you enjoy my conversation with Octavio. And if you want to learn more about him, I have some links to the website Imaginal Early Childhood, to the Instagram page, which is private, so just send a request, and to the Coyote Tracks program, which Octavio will be teaching at as well. So please enjoy, and thank you so much for checking this out. Can you start the interview with just like explaining a little bit more just about yourself and just sort of a brief introduction to
Yeah,
the world for us?
absolutely. That and I remember when you had said, "Could you write a paragraph?" And I'm like, "Oh my goodness!" My mind goes like, "Who am I?" Like this whole journey, this whole story. Um, I would say that I have a background in wilderness education, and I use this for my own learning and my own growth, and it inspired me to pursue a career in teaching. And so,
That- hey, that works for me. So when did you start like your school that you have now?
well, after I was teaching in Newark Public Schools for 3 years, so I had this journey to become a teacher, long and winding, and school was really painful for me. I'm a hands-on learner, so like to have to read and write and read and write, oh, it was just like torture. Really. For some people, it's easy.
Yeah.
And this is important to know because it's going to go into how I can empathize with a lot of the students that I met while I was public school teaching. Like when we met, actually, I was in a program to earn my master's to get certificates in teaching. So I had an opportunity to work in Newark Public Schools for 3 years. And while I was there, it was a enlightening experience working with the hearts of the kids in the classroom
Mhm.
and seeing the struggles they were facing that we all bring, right? And then in addition to that, they were put into a space that had certain kind of stressors that brought out some other struggles in the school. And so I could work with that with how I learned um, teaching through working with families and nature and working with wilderness skills. I brought that playful, curious element to my classroom. So whereas we had to design lessons and everything had to be mm, flowing with what was written so that someone could walk in a classroom and see 9:05, we would have story time. I added the spontaneity. So if it was snowing, I took my kids outside. Didn't matter. We didn't even grab our coats. We just ran out in the snow. And in that moment, that's like the pureness of children, of their being. And I saw how that lit their eyes and their laughter. And so then we could go and get our coats and collect snow and build a snowman and then bring it into the classroom and measure it and document the time and measure it half hour later and measure it half hour later. And all of a sudden we had this spontaneous lesson on rates of melting. And then the questions, where does snow come from? And why does water freeze? So that let me know that teaching could be in this way without all these other stressors. But being in a public school and the way it's run, you have to teach a certain way. So I was so fortunate that I had excellent principal, vice principal who saw what I was doing with the kids. And they were like, go for it, go for it. And so, I had to still be within certain parameters. But I was able to do a lot in those 3 years with the kids. And we had access to a garden in the back. So we spent so much time, any lesson that I could connect with getting the kids outside, breathing fresh air, running, playing, getting their hands in the soil. It enhanced every lesson, and I could apply it to any subject. So one of my favorite stories with the garden is like on the very first day that I took my kids out there, and I'm a new teacher, and this is all like, wow, all right, I have 15 kids that I'm responsible for to teach, whatever that is, right? I have to learn how to develop these lessons. I took them out to the garden, and one of the kids just laid down in the grass and spread his arms and looked up and breathed. And I was like, yes, that was a defining moment. I'll carry that with me, and it says everything about what followed that year in bringing just another sense of peace to kids, which we all need.
Right. That kind of, and so that's really inspiring, actually, to kind of see the actual correlation between fostering the kids' ability to be spontaneous and learn and play.
Absolutely.
And see them respond like that must have, did it inspire did that experience inform your next step of like starting your own school?
Absolutely. So I mentioned the wilderness.
Yeah.
And also I had done 2.5 years, I worked for a wilderness therapy company. So along with the wilderness skills that I had, I was able to work alongside therapists in the field. And we were working on, I brought the survival element through my background. So I was teaching kids bow drilling or knot making, and they were living 24/7 out in the high desert. It was like a program for troubled youth, right?
Yeah.
So I got to learn how the therapists were teaching them soft skills, which I had never. We called the wilderness skills hard skills, and more of the emotional skills, the softer skills. So they were working with communication was a big part of it, like our internal dialogue, how we talk to ourselves, how we talk to others. Kids wrote autobiographies and could track their lives and see where things took a turn, and we could have conversations around a fire and really I had the realest conversations you can have, because this was like one of the kids were like in a space where they were going to kill themselves or someone else, or it's really damaging the way they were living. And so it was like an intervention, like, all right, stop, let's go out to the wilderness and let's face what's happening. And that gave us the time and the space to, like, if you're going through something and at home you would punch a wall and freeze the situation or run away, here you can't do that. You can shut down, and we're going to sit on the side of the road for 8 hours, 10 hours. And we have this peer group, which was the strongest part of the program, because more than listening to me, the kids were listening to their peers who might have been there already, or 30, 45 days, 60 days. Like, man, I know where you're at. I was in the same position, and this is what I learned. And I realized I had to be accountable for X, Y, Z. And it was beautiful. And so I absorbed that. And that's what I brought into the classroom. And then I absorbed that. And it's a long story, but I wound up moving to South Jersey. And I left Newark after 3 years. I could have worked there for a very long time, from the heart of everything. And then the short version of the story is my wife and I were going to have another baby. And just with like the fast-paced life and traffic and fighting for parking spaces and getting tickets and towed, it was just crazy. She didn't want to grow up. She didn't want to have that with like a baby on the way and already with kids. So we moved to South Jersey. That's where I grew up. But We're at the very, very south near Cape May. My daughter was 4 years old, and I was looking for a place to work. And there was a Head Start program I could have worked at, but they wouldn't have allowed my daughter to be in the same school where I was working. So then I'm like, all right, hold on. I'm going to drive my daughter and drop her off somewhere to go somewhere else to teach kids. And I know that she's going to be fine, but no one's doing. I was looking for someone doing what I was doing in Newark. I'd be happy to drop her off somewhere where they're going to let her be barefoot and climb trees and get muddy and learn through her own discoveries. And I couldn't find that. So I had a conversation with my wife, and I'm like, let's just homeschool, right? Let's be a homeschool family. And so that's what we did. I put all of my faith into what could happen, because I had a really strong notion, having seen the healing take place in the wilderness therapy, the joy in the wilderness programs with the families through Tracker School and Coyote Tracks programs, and what I saw develop in my own classroom. I saw that there's the academic side that it's important, but it's not everything. It's one thing, and you don't need to make a direct line to it that's forced. You can trust in the brains, say it plural, that children have, like in their mind and in their hearts and in their bellies. And with those senses of their being, they can like play and find joy in things, and then just gush to tell you they don't want to stop sharing their discoveries. And from there, an astute teacher, guide can just support that in whatever way they can, with guiding research or going to the library, getting books for it, or however the child expresses a desire to learn. It could be a musical child who would love a song about it, so you make a song for it.
Yeah, I love that concept of like just tailoring it to the child's needs, because like, for instance, I was like a really shy child, so I feel like that would have been something that, would have like opened me up a little bit more to being more extroverted, I guess. If there was somebody there who had kind of seen that and been able to nurture that a little bit more. I just think of the kids who have different ways of learning, like through music. That is a great way to learn. Or other kids might be more interested in drawing or painting, or just more artistic expression, rather than like what you were saying earlier, where it's just this very rigid reading and writing, and there's no other room for exploration in that kind of formulaic way of teaching kids.
And so why do we do it?
That is the question, because it seems, when I've been for my research for this, it seems like, and this is what I kind of was thinking we could talk about next, is just the concept of play and how kids learn through play. It seems like you have a great wealth of knowledge about that topic. And just through your experience, how have you seen this this way that kids are naturally playful also combined with their learning? Because I think right now we kind of segment it off to, this is your play time and then this is your learning time, but you're kind of overlapping the two and saying, no, we learn through playing.
Yeah, exactly. So I'd like to go back to the shyness part, right? Which is a gift. We can make it not a gift.
Yeah.
And you can make someone feel awkward, and you can put them on the spot. So what this play part is, with the guide especially, is to allow to be, to hold a space, not just physically, for play, but here, like within the heart and consideration. So I've had children who were more shy that just needed to feel comfortable and just allowed to be that. It's not anything wrong. As parents, we could feel uncomfortable with that. And we could say, go say hi to them, and feel embarrassed that they're not saying hi. And so what I advocate for parents and for teachers is to really allow a space for a child to be. So when they feel safe, then the play is just going to be that. We're designed to play. You see it with all kind of mammals out on the Serengeti or wherever, they're like jumping on each other and tossing and hunting. And so they're preparing themselves through play for life. We're not different. We're not different. So we're preparing ourselves for life through play. So when we set the emotional space and a safe heart space, then we set a beautiful learning place environment. I began with nothing. I began with an open lawn, a swamp in the back, and books. Right, so you can read stories, tell stories to kids. They love stories. That engages language, that engages literacy in a fun way. Not like write A 10 times and this is the letter A, see the letter A there, see the letter. Just have it be within your games. And then my son and my daughter and all of the kids who've come through here, they show it. They'll randomly be like, hey, that's the letter A right there, on their own. Or we were looking at a sign at Wawa yesterday, and Elijah's like, Ella's reading the sign. And I didn't teach her to read. She's reading the sign, and Elijah's like, I see the number 4. And Ella's like, yeah, that's right. That is the number 4 right there. Dinner at 4 p.m. And so we celebrate that, and it's fun. And so the kids become more likely to want to be rewarded in that way with like positive reinforcement. So, I said I didn't teach Ella to read. She reads a storm, and she doesn't put down Nancy Drew books like one after the other. And so that's where we read a lot to her, and that was it. And then games came through letters and different kind of sight words. And so I didn't teach her, but I added these different games, and she just picked up one day, and I was surprised. Like, she was really like, she took off with it. So my point being, I would love, like, in a really big way, it'd be a huge shift in the education system, but in a smaller way where we could really have effect as parents, I would say, don't worry about your kids learning. Don't. Allow them to be. The kids are showing me over and over and over again. Now, in a school system, I did fine in public school enough, right? I learned all these things. So I look back and think about what I'm using from all of the 12, 13 years I spent in the educational system, and what I could have been doing had someone looked at little Octavio and been like, oh, all right, give him more of that, and not added the trauma that develops the neuroses that creates the world of broken adults that we have. A funny part to that is, I did really well in elementary school. I loved it. I had so many teachers that I remember and I love from there. And I could fold my hands at the desk, and I could raise my hand, and I loved doing like the homework assignments, and I thrived. But there were students who didn't. And that model wouldn't work for them. And so it's a loss, because they were in another classroom. They were different. They might have been labeled as defiant or attention deficit disorder or anything like that, when they just needed to not be in a classroom, they needed to have another way to express their own brilliance.
Yeah.
Right? I learned more about this in 6th grade when they took away recess and I was in middle school. And then all of a sudden I was expected to have notebooks and do all these different kind of structured assignments. And it was rough. It was rough for me, aside from like awkward teen years, right? So I feel like I've been talking a lot. So
No. I'm this is all so fascinating because I'm just thinking of it's bringing up all these memories of school for me too. And I think you're right. I think school actually fit well for me as well. Like I really love actually being in a classroom. It's one of my favorite places to be, oddly. Like now that we're talking about all this, I'm realizing that I also love just to be in a classroom and listen to a lecture and take notes and study. Like it really is where I personally thrive. But then I think that that's actually the minority of kids. And so many people get lost in the cracks. And I think, my dad always told me that, everyone has a potential and that society would be better if everyone was given the tools and the resources and the opportunity to fulfill their potential. And then we were all able to share that with the world, whatever it is.
wow.
So
I would like to talk with your dad.
oh, he's a really, truly amazing person. It was it's a philosophy he instilled on me. He was a social worker. So that was what his life work was about, as well as my mom. But they both kind of instilled that in me of how important education is. But I see now how it's almost like we're just repeating the cycle of, of teaching kids in a certain way when really it's not working for kids. And
Yeah.
there's so many children out there without any opportunity to get out into the natural world and for whatever reason, and just like have a worm in their hand or go through the swamp and everything that you're doing in your place. So I was looking through all of your pictures on Instagram and just absorbing it all. And I love just the space that you created. So I want to talk about that a little bit with you and just discuss, like you said that, you basically so you kind of started with just your backyard, but it seems like you've created this amazing place.
Yeah.
I think
So,
they do kind of go hand in hand, like creating
absolutely.
a space for this to occur, for the play to occur.
So I mentioned that I have 3 parts to the core of what I'm developing here, what I've developed. There's the wilderness aspect, which you have to get. We are nature. So it's ridiculous to not have nature as a big component of our learning laboratory, or right, whatever that is. Even if you're in the city and you just have like a little potted plant growing, like so there's that part. Then there's the foundations of learning with what I gained in earning my I have a bachelor's in public health with a focus on school health education. And one of the biggest things there I learned with mind-body medicine and how it's not healthy to have all these stress hormones running through our body that life creates. That's big. There's a lot. I can go off on a tangent there. I don't want to get lost. So with the mind-body medicine, but also something important I learned there was about upstream health. Like if there were like drowning people in a stream and we're just rescuing bodies, we got to go upstream to see how these people are falling in, right?
Yeah.
And so I took that, and so I have the wilderness and the foundationals of my bachelor's and my master's in teaching, human development, and all the papers I wrote and my classroom experience there. There's another part. I've been working with a friend who has a cognitive program called Liquid Language, and it's helped me track language and how it shapes our world. And I use it for everything with my teaching, from conflict resolution to goal setting. And I'm tying that because why do we keep doing what we're doing, right? There's in one of my classes in liquid language brought up an experiment that was done. I don't know if you're familiar with this, with monkeys. They had 5 monkeys in a cage, and they had a ladder and had bananas on top of the ladder. And so every time a monkey would go up to the get the banana on the ladder, the other monkeys would get hosed. They get hosed with cold water, like, ah. And so then another monkey would try to get the banana, the other ones would get hosed, and then they would beat up that monkey. Like, yo, don't get those bananas or we're gonna get hosed. So after that was established, don't grab those bananas, one of the monkeys was taken out and replaced. Now, this monkey hadn't seen anything that happened prior to that. So it's going to go up, get the banana. The other ones are going to get hosed. They're going to beat it up. All right, I got it. Don't get that banana. So now they replaced another monkey, and they did it 5 times to where now the monkeys that were in there had never seen anyone get hosed, but anyone who went near the banana would just get beat up. And it made me realize, like, how is that applying in our life? Like, why are we doing some of these things just because I guess society mandates it? So in this realm, right, here I was with a master's degree working with my kids at home, homeschooling, and getting the pushback because there's all these kind of misconceptions about homeschooling. Though it's so general, it's so broad, and there are actually some monsters who would keep their kids sheltered, right? That's a reality. But I wanted to do something different. I wanted to put together these concepts of how a kid could be in nature, how they can still learn, and how they can really learn how to shape their world, how they can track language, their own language. And really, that's where I came up with the motto: play, dream, create. So I began with just the lawn. And the first thing we did was planted some fruit trees, then a garden, worked back in the swamp, cleared out invasive plants, used those to have fun fires, work on fire lessons, baskets, shelter, and I could continue like for forever on where that can go. An important part with that is we have the learning center that was done. And so that really allowed me to create a really nice learning environment for the kids. You don't need anything. I was fine on my lawn. We could go to the library. But I wanted to make a proof of concept of how schools could be designed. And in my classroom, Newark Public Schools has such an excellent preschool program in the way of design. I learned how to have 10 different learning stations, a block area, a science area, a library, a cooking area, a sand and water area, a computer area, had the garden, and that connected with, have you ever heard of Gardner's theory of multiple intelligences?
I haven't.
So all of this just opened my eyes when I was at in my program in Montclair. I hadn't mentioned, great program. So Gardner stated that there were multiple intelligences that we all have in varying degrees. So you have someone could be real math brain, someone could be real musical. We have intrapersonal, where we learn better in a quiet setting, like with ourselves, or interpersonal. Some work better like within groups and more extroverted in that way. And so I don't remember all of them off of the top of my head right now. I could find it. But it essentially, you're creating an environment with multiple ways for kids to express their learning, and you're not forcing them anywhere. You're just letting them go where they're drawn. So even with my strong nature background, I didn't feel like kids have to go outside. You don't have to go right now, right? You can stay inside and read field guides or whatever. Just have quality things for kids to do, right? Not just gonna watch like YouTube videos of kids opening toys. That's
No, yeah, so it sounds like, how does that, so do you see that play out with your own kids and the kids that you're teaching, that do you kind of just let them go and sort of go towards what they are drawn to, rather than kind of putting your own assumptions on them of what they should be doing? And
yeah, at my best, that's what's happening. And so I begin a day, I'm real mature with the kids, as I am silly.
okay.
I honor their being, I honor their brain. I see them like at my best, I can really hold a space to them. Joseph Chilton Pierce has this really great philosophy of reciprocity, and how a child sits in front of you and you become this relationship of reciprocity. You play with them and you can teach them different fun things, and they, in their joy, connect with your inner child, and you can play in that way. And so I hold a space in the beginning of our day. I call it counsel, and I might share some emergency, really important information. Hey, I just filled up the garden beds and there are seeds in it, so we're not going to dig in that, right? Or there's a construction area that's going to be off limits. We should be aware of that. Or the kids might say, we were in the swamp and there's this big patch of greenbrier thorns, and so I want anyone to be aware in that area. So all of the kids have a voice to share in that. They can also bring an exciting discovery. A kid might bring in a bone they found, or they might talk about finding a pupa and being really excited about it. And from there, oh, a pupa, well, what's a pupa? All right, I'm going to write it on the board. And all right, if anyone, after the circle, if anyone's interested in researching some pupa, raise your hand. Okay, so we can meet and we could do that. Someone might bring up a difficult situation. You know, when we were in the house yesterday, you pushed me and I felt bad afterwards, and I was thinking about it. And then we can talk as peer group, like how someone might feel about that, and what are some other ways that we can get to why it happened and how it can be prevented, so that everyone has a healthy space to learn.
I love that.
And I have one rule that I when I present with the kids is, you have to respect others' mind, body, and heart. And we'll communicate and make sure other people respect your mind, your body, and your heart. That's it right there. Yeah. And so we have conversations about any kind of interactions. What that's done, I've had kids come in, and I don't know a real good word for it. I hope anyone's not offended, but I call it fuckery. Yeah. It covers that. Why are you going to poke someone until they're crying, or why are you going to snap something? Covers all of that. And kids have they want attention and they want power, and so that comes, we can find healthier ways and we can call things out, like that's not cool. You're not respecting my heart if you're calling me stupid, or that's not okay. And so the community, the kids speak this way and they don't stand for it. And so that's growing.
Yeah.
That's growing. They're really, I forget even the youngest ones because they really hang with the older ones, but some of the things they come up with are so mature in their understanding, this real basic understanding of like, don't be an asshole. They don't say it that way. I might speak with my daughter on the side, like we have a fun relationship where she might see how an adult is acting and be like, yeah, like that's not cool. But that's basically what it is. It's like, we got to stop that. We got to stop that because it's not helpful. It's hurtful. And in that trauma, it's just perpetual trauma passed on. Whatever kids are learning from television, whatever they're learning from a lot of mainstream stuff, honestly, like there's good things within there, but there's so much just junk. So nature's a place where I can shed all that, and I've shed, it's been the testing grounds for it.
Yeah.
And with regards to Gardner's multiple intelligence theory, nature's the ultimate classroom, right? It has everything for everyone. Everything for everyone. The technology part is where we are now, and so I'm for iPads and canoes. Some people are afraid of technology, and I'm like, no, that's the kids' world. Let's teach them how to use it responsibly. Let's use it in a cool way. So my kids are like, have their own. They're exploring Word, Microsoft Word. They're exploring Paint. They're exploring how to research, and so you're going to want to learn how to type in Falcon and spell Falcon rather than me teaching you F is the letter of the week, right?
I love that. It's like technology is like kind of what we were talking about earlier, such a powerful tool if you know how to use it correctly. And then I guess there's this element of teaching kids, to use it responsibly, I guess. Like you would teach a kid to use a knife or something.
Exactly. And they're capable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because there is right. No, that's an interesting avenue, I guess you have to go down with a kid.
You got to get rid of a lot of because I noticed that even in preschool, kids are like, oh, you got the Paw Patrol sneakers? Oh, yeah, I can run faster with these. Or there's like this element of preying upon our children, and we infantilize them. We don't really respect them. R.D. Lang, if you ever get a chance, watch Did You Used to Be R.D. Lang, Laing. Brilliant psychiatrist, I believe. He has this quote: we are effectively destroying ourselves by violence masquerading as love. Right? Think about that. And he worked with schizophrenics and had these big breakthroughs with them, and they'd go back home with their families and everything, he'd lose all the progress that he had made. And he tracked all of this trauma to the family, like family being like, what's making the world crazy, right? And so that's one of the things that is the other part. That's with the liquid language cognitive program that I said I've worked with a friend who developed it. We're doing that. We're tracking language. We're tracking the games that we play with our children. And it's embarrassing, even for myself. I was not prepared to have kids. It's a whole other world. Most people don't have kids for the right reason, right? It's like something egoic, something selfish, something. I always just wanted a kid to hug. maybe your kid doesn't want to be hugged all the time like that, as you depending on them for some kind of comfort, or you're gonna be my baseball player, or you're gonna be the first one to do whatever dreams we put into our own children. We don't give them the opportunity to present as themselves. And so there are numerous ways that this happens. It's one of my soapbox rants. I tell people, think about it. Thinking, why do you want to have a kid? It's the embarrassing question, because my biological clock is ticking, because my parents want to be grandparents. All of those are not reasons to have kids. And then you just go into a perpetual system of just like different traumas at home that we're not aware of, violence masquerading as love, and then in this learning system. And it's not until like you get out and make your way in the world where you might have a chance to reflect, if you're lucky, and change something. So this is about upstream health. It's about upstream change. It's about really finding the brilliant, allowing every child to be brilliant. They are. And what a loss to society when anyone is just cast aside. It's crazy and absurd how it happens. But I'm hopeful, because I see this as a proof of concept. I see it something that can be adopted. I'd like to actually possibly consult as a next step. I can only, this is a great proof of concept. What would happen if I had a big learning facility? Or now that with this Corona time, if there was like a cluster of parents that was interested in this way and some coaching to instill these practices that I think anybody can do with their own kids, and that can have a broader reach than just what I can do with a handful of kids.
Yes. I have a question. When do you talk to your kids and the kids that you're teaching? Do you kind of treat them? It seems like you kind of talk to them with a level of like respect, like almost like they're adults,
Absolutely.
adults,
Yeah. Like they matter. Not even like adult, like they matter. And we'll also often think that adults matter more than kids. It's mutual area of respect. They know that I love them and I care for them, that I play around, but I don't play around, like I have clear boundaries. And I realize kids want that. I've worked with kids that at home, well, even my own kids at home, they know what buttons to push, right? So that was the beauty of having kids. It's been humbling. And it's given me a lot more empathy with other parents that, I might have been more judgmental prior to having kids. But it's definitely mutual. There are clear boundaries, and they know we're gonna have fun. We're gonna have fun. Here's this. I tell my daughter's like, she's actually like one of the biggest influences with the other kids is I told her, I don't know everything from a young age. Dad doesn't know everything. So you're allowed to question. You're with respect. We'll have this. You can't yell at me and think I can hear that. You can yell and become angry. You could breathe, and we can come to a better space to have counsel. We have counsel. And there's been times where out of anger, I might have said, I don't even remember what, like, you can't go down to the bay now. I'm making that up, but it could have happened. And then she was like, Dad, hold on. I want to share. Can you see this in this other way? And I was like, oh, you're right. You're right, darling. You're right. And so I allow her that space to be. And I allow that for all of our kids. So what confidence to develop? Like everyone has their own, I guess, experience as a kid. For me, it was scary. You would never like consider like talking back, or even, I was such a shy kid because it was like, you don't really look someone in the eye. And there are all these cultural things that affected my childhood that I remember and that I wanted to address with my own children and with any child that I'm working with. So I would have kids that the parents don't know what to do. Other adults don't know I don't know what to do with him. And they're just so rambunctious.
Yeah.
And that's like my special. I love working with that kid, but let me work with them in my way. Give me like space and nature. Nature is the natural consequences laboratory, and I love it. So if a kid's messing around, go ahead. Don't step there because it's really deep. I told you, don't step there because it's deep.
Sometimes they have to learn from themselves, right?
Yeah. And so all of that is fun and funny.
It seems like that kids need, like, if you give them a little bit of say, a little bit of control or something, they're less likely to act out.
A lot.
Yeah. Like the
Yeah.
acting out is a consequence of feeling like they're always just going along with what the adult says to do.
Well, I love the phrase that you use, acting out. And there's another person who I follow, Gabor Mate. Oh, this dude is brilliant in linking trauma to addiction, not just like drugs, alcohol, TV, shopping. We're all addicted in some way. If we look, what are we doing to alleviate these traumas that R.D. Lang is saying is happening in the family, and Gabor Mate is saying. So a child doesn't know how to fully communicate, especially if you're not teaching them in this way that I'm working with them. And so what are they gonna? They're gonna act out. They're acting out what they want to communicate. So instead of punishing them in so many hurtful ways, and physical abuse and emotional abuse, isolation, we can teach them in a way to communicate and to act in another way.
Yeah. There's the language piece again. Acting
It's
out
huge.
is an interesting concept to think about.
Yeah. So big part of that is everything around us is created by language. It's an agreement. Even the concept that gold and diamonds is worth whatever we make it worth, and money, and however we set this up, I think we can have a more noble dream that can be created with the shift in language.
Do you see that with your kids that you're teaching?
Yeah, absolutely. It's my hope. It's what keeps me going on, because otherwise, what's the point? For me, anyway. Yeah. On a personal level, when I first took wilderness skills, my first class was 1998, and I was at a place where life just really didn't make sense. I was looking at humans treated each other, the news, wars, our history of just like the worst kind of abuses to humans for whatever color, religion, any of that. And it just was absurd. And my own traumas that I was just coming to terms with, reflecting on my own childhood and choices I made, and the unhealthy choices I made. And I was like, I was feeling really lost and wasn't treating myself right in so many ways. And so anyway, I found this nature school, the tracker school, and I was going to learn these skills to just like run. I'm out. I just want to live in a cave somewhere, learn how to what to eat, what to drink. And the class was phenomenal. Like, what a community of different people from around the world had come to learn in some basics of survival with shelter, fire, water, food. And what I realized at the end of that week was that wouldn't be changing anything. So I made a promise in 1998 that I would be a teacher to myself. It's like, you're going to teach, you're going to be able to teach these skills. And it gave me hope. It gave me hope and purpose as a human. Like, I can have some kind of way of caretaking and making the world better in the smallest way, even if it's seeing a tree and cutting a branch where two branches are rubbing and saving that tree from an insect infestation from that wound. And now I can even use that branch I cut, and I can make a bow or a fireboard, and I can make fire, right? And what that awakened in me. So, you know, I didn't get my teaching certificate until 2013. So it was quite the journey to there, but it was, I felt like that's what my journey has been. That's what this purpose I found has been, to like learn, to struggle. I told parents I suffered through all of that schooling to let you know you don't have to worry about educating your children. They will learn. They will learn. Allow them to learn in their own way, then really gonna thrive.
I love that you've seen it firsthand too. I mean, you've had so much experience to prove it out to you that this is really truly how I feel like we're all supposed to just learn this way. And it's my hope that like you can continue teaching kids, but like you said, also start sharing this with other people somehow, so that like branch out so that they can learn how to teach. Because for me, I'm such a structured person. Like I want everything planned out perfectly, and to go a certain way. And so I feel like I would learn a lot about myself, probably just letting it go and letting it be, and watching the kids just kind of take the path that they need to go down in order to learn, and let go of all the expectation of having like a lesson plan, and this is what you're going to learn, and this is what we're doing today. And I feel like it would be great to just let the kids do what they want to do, and kind of let it go, almost just let it all go and let it be, and let the control go.
Surrender.
Yeah, let the control go.
Yeah.
So that would be my lesson that I would have to learn.
It's a big one for us all in different ways. And there's also like, I'm aware that it could become Lord of the Flies easily. If you know, so there's an art.
Yeah.
There's an art to it. And so you can't go wrong by setting the standard of respect the mind, the body, and the heart.
Okay.
And have others respect your mind, your body, and your heart. That's a foundation.
So you're kind of there, almost you kind of rein it in a little bit sometimes, then kind of bring it back to maybe a sense of civility if things get out of control. Is that what I'm hearing you say?
Yeah, you know, just calling things out because all these kids are coming from different spaces. So stop the fuckery. I don't say that to the kids, but like, why? So here's a.
I love it though. I'm gonna keep that. So true.
So I've seen it all. You know, I noticed on the Serengeti, watching those nature shows, everyone's busting each other's chops. Why are you messing around? Why are you stealing someone's, like, the nature plays in that way. So with our consciousness, we could change that part. So there was one time a kid's like looking and examining water and the ripples in the water and has his face near it, and another kid throws a pumpkin at that water, knowing it's gonna splash in his face. So someone has to be there to be like, no, stop. That's not okay. I don't accept that.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's not respecting the body, like, or his heart. Like there was a space where this kid was in a trance and like learning there. And so we got to learn through that lesson, and those get eliminated.
Mm-hmm.
In a you don't hit that kid, you don't belittle them, but you take it back to that's not okay. And the community feels confidence around that conversation, and then they call it out. Yeah. They build it. And so we need to have more of that. But you don't have, if you're growing up in a household where you're getting teased, where you're playing games like Indian rug burn on your hand, or anything, being belittled because you're a boy and you're crying, and like why are we perpetuating those traumas? You're going to see the kids, what's happening in their lives with what they bring or what they internalize from non-quality technology. Like, you can't just leave your kids free to look at whatever or watch whatever, or it's just, I've eliminated even cartoons. I don't like cartoons in general. There are some quality ones, but even in some of the better ones, they have this character that's always like messing around in some way. And my sister will know. My daughter will know. she'll hear something a character says and look at me and be like, yeah, that's not cool. And so I call those candy cartoons.
Okay.
You can have, I'm not trying to isolate my kids from anything. I don't prefer that, but like, all right, you can watch it, but have it like candy, like a little bit, right? But I don't like baptize my kid into like, you're going to be my Paw Patrol kid and you're going to have the Paw Patrol book bag, shirt, sneakers. And then when they see that junky snack that has a Paw Patrol, they want that and they'll have a tantrum for that. That's the insidious part of how children's minds are manipulated, how they're infantilized. Like, one of my other uncomfortable conversations with parents is like, watch the games we play. And then so that brings in Santa Claus, Tooth Fairy, and everything that comes, we, for our own cuteness, for our own kind of like fun games with that. Oh man, why are you trying to like be a wet blanket and not have kids have fun with Santa? Like, no, you can have Santa like Halloween. Hey, let's dress up. Let's see how many we can find. But no one's watching if you're naughty or nice. No one's giving you that anxiety. No, like that kid who spits on his mom got like one of the hottest toys this season. How does that make sense? Who's watching? I'm a good kid and my parents are poor and I get like, not that, but I've been good.
Did you tell your kids? So have you not done the Santa thing?
No, I was adamant. Like, even prior to having kids, spoke with my wife, like I didn't want to do that. And then so that brings discomfort with any kids who might be in the circle. So from what I've learned, because of those experiences, I'm make it clear at the beginning, like, if you want to respect the brain of your child, you can't play this game.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say you have your home, you're going to do whatever family systems you're going to do. But notice, especially if your child's especially sensitive, you're going to create a trust issue. What else are you lying about?
I always thought the Santa thing was kind of interesting. It's interesting that you bring it up because it's always been interesting. Like, we teach kids not to lie, but then we have this huge lie, and they all know. They all start to ask questions like, "Well, what about this? And what about this? And how does he come down the chimney if I don't have a chimney?" Or and then you lie, and then the parent just keeps lying, and it's a huge lie, and the creepiness.
But it's cute. It's cute, right? And so it begins this. You get a double bind from that. Like, I got all these things, but then I found out my parents were lying to me. And how do I, right?
It is so yeah, you just right off the bat are like, no,
respect their brain. You don't need that. You know how magical just life is in general?
Yeah.
Like watching the process of a caterpillar become a butterfly, and you can hold a butterfly in your hand when it emerges. That's like, you get all those same kind of feelings. So watch the games we play.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, that's the one is difficult for people to let go. You get pushback from friends, from family, ostracized in a way, but really, like, it's not respecting the brain. Easter coming up, right? I've seen the ugliest looking, like Black Friday, kids running and checking each other into playground equipment, looking for who can get the most eggs of sugar candy. Why? It looks cute, but like, let's look what it was like Black Friday, and it was disturbing to me.
That is disturbing.
So, we played it in a way where we had some candies, but some like also fun, like chips or pretzels or figs or other things, and we hide them and we just play a fun hunt. You don't have to race to get the most,
Well, and also you can you can appreciate the magic of the, like, for Santa, for instance, you can appreciate like the magic of the holiday season or just the season of winter and the beauty of it in a different way without having to bring in this weird cartoonish figure, you know?
Bring it in as a game.
Yeah,
That's
and
okay.
there's a magic to the seasons that kids, I think kids can feel all that, like, but it doesn't have to be, yeah, this crazy there's so much candy now that you bring it up. There's always candy
It's
associated with all of
easy.
the
It's easy. It's
huh,
I've seen substitute teachers that have like a bag of candy and the kids act like puppies in a way of like, you train them. Okay, well, you get this candy. I don't do you lose respect in that way because it's too easy.
yeah,
It's manipulative. So um
and
yeah,
unhealthy,
yeah,
so
absolutely. And
unhealthy.
well, and then look, like, all right, so we went from Valentine's Day to St. Patrick's Day to Easter to,
Yeah,
and it goes on, it becomes a big marketing ploy that feeds on, hello, addictions from trauma.
yeah,
So you're traumatized as a kid, and candy's a soother. It kills me when I see like kids with like big sodas or lollipops in their mouth, like, especially because I was one of those kids and I
okay.
had severe dental issues that I could have gone on trips in my adulthood instead of like having to do all this repair to my teeth.
um just as a side note, you like infants, if you give them sugar, it acts in the same way in your
Oh
brain as
yeah.
like a
Yeah.
pain reliever.
Uh-huh. Yeah. So,
So
that's another thing, right? So I suffered in a way to share with everyone the good news that, I have a segment for like family in my soapbox dissertation. And it's like, please be like sensitive that there could be another way, and that you're a family member who's raising a child and wants to have a different kind of human, like might have a request to like not have so much sugar. There's this game of like, oh, well, you're with me and it's going to be fun and you're going to get all this candy and ha ha ha, I gave them
yeah.
back to you and look how wired they are. Don't be in partnership with me. We have this whole way of creating this being and shaping them to be like they're most brilliant. It's
Mhm,
not.
mhm.
Here's one um, from Liquid Language, right? Uh, the fetus delivers a pristine, ingenious brain into a linguistic cesspool. The fetus delivers a pristine, ingenious brain
Yeah.
into a linguistic cesspool.
Yeah.
So we hold that up and have conversations around that.
I mean, language is amazing, but also it can constrain us.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. It's our world. This is the conversation we're having. And my big, that's the real, if you're looking behind all the cute stuff that you've been seeing on my Imaginal Early Childhood sites and Instagram, is like, that's the work from having that thought. How can it be more upstream so it's not the cesspool? How can we have more like uh just insight into the ways we're talking to kids and bringing their lives into what they are,
Mm,
allow them to have a say. Let's hear their words and what language they can use to create something um, more noble. I think that we can do, like, we're amazing as a species. To me, I'm in love with what we can accomplish. I have a real nature heart. And I'm also aware that there's a reason why the iPhone was developed. And it wasn't to do like silly 15-second TikTok videos or whatever. It's amazing what we can do. Let's use it in a more noble way and stop busting each other's chops. That's a light way of all of the trauma that's going on there. Like what's happening right now, what people are experiencing in the way of violence. And then even here where it seems hunky-dory, like what we're experiencing in the way of violence masquerading as love. got to start looking and being more responsible for what we're creating.
Mhm. Yeah, it's true. Something has to change. I feel like the work you're doing is something that's so important. I just really am so excited that you're doing all of this and that I don't know, I'm really proud of you for all that you've done, and I'm so excited to see what you're going to continue to do with it. I feel like there's still more in store for where it's going to take you, you know?
Thank you. Thank you. I feel that. And well, I appreciate this opportunity. You gave me a chance, a focus to reflect. It's good for me to really stop and keep on looking back at what's happening and what I'm doing and why I'm doing it. And then there's the personal part, because when you talked about your dad and who you are, who you're the child in you, how this resonates. Like, I remember meeting you for the first time, and it's sometimes you just meet people and it clicks, like it feels like another piece to the puzzle. So even after all these years, we can come back and connect in this way. Like, uh,
It's special. I definitely, when I started this project, or when I started thinking about this project, um, I was really hoping you would say yes. I was like, you were on the top. I mean, I have a whole list of people that I want to talk to and learn from. And I feel I don't know why I'm doing this, but I feel like the world right now needs connection and beautiful people, and just I feel like you're one of these people that I've met that I truly feel like your family, like we're connected. We were meant to meet, and I'm so inspired by what you're doing, and just I've learned so much already. It's opened so many doors. And now I'm going to go back and research all the people that you just talked about. And
oh yeah, they're great.
it's already just opening so many doors. So just thank you so much for doing this, because I was really hoping you would say yes.
Yeah. Well,
I was
yeah.
so excited when you said yes.
Well, if you ever want to take a trip to South Jersey and feel the bay and be in the swamp, and even if you want to go to this incredible winery where we have the liquid language part that I talked about, which is so really that was the catalyst that really inspired this to be. That's where the name Imaginal came from, when I learned of the process of what it takes for a caterpillar to become a butterfly. It's a whole new thing. Caterpillar is just doing what it does, and uh, goes into a chrysalis form and dissolves. And these imaginal cells are these new cells. At first, it's fighting them. The body of the caterpillar sees it as foreign, and the imaginal cells just grow and multiply and take over and become the butterfly. So I see this. I see this in a way of.
That's truly, so imaginal is actually a cell, an
It's
imaginal cell.
scientists saw this cell, how it was reacting, and that was the name they gave it. And I think it's brilliant. And so
What?
I gave it a twist, and so I call it imaginal learning.
Yes.
So with language, I use it to shape it in my way and in this way. And so imaginal early childhood is a new way of having an early childhood, a new way of allowing a child to be and giving them that space to be, and shedding all of these things that I've found unnecessary. I've taken nature to as the testing grounds and realized what we don't need.
Mhm.
Um, and a lot of it is going to push a lot of buttons. So, I mean, we could go deeper into that. But I think with the Santa Claus already would be like touchy for a lot of in the world.
And hey, just as a side note for Santa Claus, people who love Santa Claus, it's fine as well. people can choose to do what they want, I guess.
Yeah, well,
But
you're gonna have a trust issue, I will say. So I
yeah,
advocate, use it as a game. All of the stuff,
yeah,
use it as a game. Use it as a
yeah,
game, as a fun game, and be aware of what you're doing and saying.
yeah,
The biggest thing in all of this, I'm not looking to like make wrong.
right.
I am noticing ways that work to bring a healthier sense of feeling, a
Yeah.
healthier sense of being.
The
And
way yeah, the
a
way
lie isn't it.
right. And the way I see it is like you can choose to not do the Santa Claus thing, and you should be able to have that choice
Yes.
without it coming down on you as like you're this, you're doing something wrong.
You
You can
can't
choose to
though.
not do it. You should be able to have that choice.
The problem, the conundrum is, right? So here's one. Um, my kids are all around the fire pit, and what happens with kids and losing teeth, right? Is they're gonna have conversations. So kids are talking about teeth they lost, and one of the kids talked about a tooth fairy, and Elijah, who's 4, he's like, tooth fairy is not real. And then the
Oh,
other kids were like, yes, it is. Yes. And then, oh, see,
so
like,
then
and
that has
my
a
daughter's like, shh, shh, shh. So now you're having like all of these like tense feelings. What's the body doing? Adrenaline, heart racing, cortisol, stress hormones over this. Why? Now it's this. So I suggested then track it. I dropped it in that moment. I could have, it wasn't my place to be like, I felt tooth fairy's not real. If a kid asked me, is the tooth fairy real? No. If you ask me, I'm not going to bullshit you. No, it's not. I believe it's your parents. You could track them, see, you can ask them, ask your parents. And you can't hang around in this area and have a problem with that. That's where, like, that's my line. And
Mm,
so I'm well aware of having that conversation with anyone who's going to be within close proximity in that way. Like, this is a respect the mind, body, and heart zone. We
mhm.
can be friends. Like, I'm not going to go out to intentionally antagonize you or your ways, but like, here we have like, that's something that can be shed.
Mhm,
I hold the question, how is this good for the brain? And so let's not be offended. Let's hold this up. Let's look at it from different angles. And if you can answer how this is good for the brain, then I'm all for it. And I haven't found anyone who's been able to give me that reason how it's good for the brain to play the game in that way.
yeah. It's good to have these courageous conversations.
We need
You
that.
have to push the buttons or else it's like we were talking about this whole conversation, it's just going to keep repeating those same patterns over and over again.
Well,
So
who was it? Frederick Douglass, who said something about it's easier to raise healthy children than broken men, something around that, right? And so I'm
mm,
tired, man. I'm tired of what I really stood out to me in 1998. Angry when I was reading the more of the realistic history of um, colonization and just tracking that to just the world. It doesn't make sense. Like, people are expendable. How can you have like millions of people dying from hunger, from war, from disease? How can you have that? Well, how are people so expendable in that way?
mhm.
And then just all of this absurdity to me. So it feels like some kind of awakening, some kind of evolving into a new way of being. And I believe strongly it's going to come to how we treat our children
Mhm.
and then the women in our world, because what's happening is we have to look to the mom, the woman who wants to be in the role of being a life giver,
Mhm.
having life pass through her, and the intention of like, how do we support this being? Because from the very beginning, how the mom's feeling and what's around her environment is affecting this developing being. And so there is already science is proving generational trauma like encoded in cellular, and then the environment around that can like instigate all kind of negative things when you're bathed in a constant wash of cortisol and adrenaline. But if we can have women and support women and what they can really move through them in this little being, and how we can support all children to grow in a way where their brilliance can shine, what they contribute into the world in their way with joy and happiness, like that's the noble dream like that I speak of.
It's a good one to have. Well, thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate it.
Yeah,
I so enjoyed this conversation with you. So
I'd like to, I guess, before like officially ending, I'd like
yeah,
to let anyone know who I made my Imaginal Early Childhood Instagram
yes.
private. It was open before. I had just someone who was following me make some comment, and
Oh,
yeah, well, because everyone's gonna have their opinions, right?
sure.
Right?
Yeah.
Like everyone. So, but that's not the place for it. I
Yeah.
thought about how to respond, and what my Instagram is just a place to share that joy. Not a place for a back and forth in that way. But
Yeah.
so anyway, if
Yeah.
anyone who is interested in that and wants to follow that Instagram, is fine. Imaginal Early Childhood. But there's this cool opportunity to transition, and I wanted to put in a plug for Coyote Tracks youth programs.
Oh, please. Anything else that you want to share?
Youth program through connection through the Tracker School, which had a huge positive impact in my life. So there seems to be an opportunity where I can work in a full-time capacity with them to teach nature skills, to reach their social justice aspect, and go back out to the cities. I would love to go to Newark and reconnect with some of my people there. And the impact that one class had on me and shifting my whole life, where honestly I was throwing it away, the other path I could have taken, just shows like the difference that one person can make. So I'm excited to do that. So if anyone is interested in how that might be able to be helpful for them, there's a family camp through Coyote Tracks youth program. You could find it on 4e.org. And it's in the Pine Barrens, May 28th through 30th. And I look forward to being able to work with them and add having the freedom to add this element of imaginal learning now with a stronger focus in the wilderness skills. And
We didn't even really get to talk a lot about that. Do you want to talk a little bit more about
but
that?
that's a whole
Or
other, we
it's a
could go
whole other thing.
we
So
could go
it's
hours.
all good. Yeah.
Yeah, but I
But
just want,
that's so exciting.
that's
I'm so
where
happy
I'm
for
going.
you.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm thrilled. My wife is going
Yeah.
to take on the role of being the home education parent.
Ooh.
So that's good. She's been supporting this. She does the work and has the insurance and pays like the bills in that way to allow this to be like we were all in this way. And so now I'll get a chance to shift that. And I'm ready to move into, I'm a better teacher than a parent. It's so, and I say that with all the love for my kids. We need to have a system that really supports parents. It takes a village. It's a lot for one person. It takes a village, but not the crazy village. So,
It does
so,
take a village. That's a whole nother conversation too.
so that's where the Coyote Tracks youth programs, the family camp that's coming, that's kind of like the village to me, where all these families are coming together and not only learning skills. I love to add that because I want to let parents there know still respect the mind, body, and heart, because you just see what people bring from their areas that can like just impede learning. So that's exciting. And then I'm putting together a team to make this consulting. I'm play dreaming, creating in my own way, right? And so I'm really would love to any parents or pods that would be interested in this imaginal style of learning. I want to be able to help them. So I have a team that's putting together something we can do to help families in that way.
Almost like an instructional, like a guideline.
Yes, and
Okay.
being able to, a lot of it would be like meeting and guiding counsel, guiding the conversations, but also parents having to be brave enough to be like, hey man, watch the games you're playing with your kids and develop that support system within each other, right?
I'm so excited. Those are all really cool things coming up. So, but I'll put links so you have your Imaginal Early Childhood website and then Instagram.
Yeah.
And then
I have the Facebook page, but I mostly work through the Instagram. There's a lot for me to be on too much technology.
Yeah. And then the 4Eve website. So I'll link all those with this link.
Absolutely.
On the YouTube. Anything else, my friend?
I think we covered
oh my gosh, so much.
What? So hour and a half or so.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Well, thank you. Happy spring to you.
Oh yeah.
I hope you get out and enjoy some time outside.
Thank you. Thank
you so much. Bye, Octavio.
Bye. Happy gardening.
Thank you. You too. Thank you for checking out Insight Interviews, and I hope that you enjoyed this conversation with Octavio. If you want to learn anything more about the school, Imaginal Early Childhood, or the Coyote Tracks program, please check out the links below. And thank you so much.